Civil Superior Court for the County of Wake is now convened in sitting for the regular dispatch of business. The Honorable Judge Paul Ridgeway and Paul C. Ridgeway is now presiding. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, God save the state and this honorable court. Please be seated and remain quiet.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session of Wake County Civil Superior Court. We are absolutely delighted to be here with you. This is, speaking on behalf of all of us here, this is one of our favorite days. One of our favorite duties as judges is to be able to welcome and swear in new admittees to the North Carolina Bar, and in particular, do that on behalf of Wake County Bar Association. So we want to just welcome all of the new admittees, their sponsors, and of course family and friends who have stood behind you and beside you throughout this process. So welcome to all of you. The formalities that have gone into making this event official. This is a Wake County courtroom today. Judge Gessner opened court this morning in the Wake County Courthouse and determined that the facilities there were inadequate to host such an esteemed gathering of individuals, and so he declared court adjourned there and has reconvened court in this building. So we do comply, as you would expect, with North Carolina law, and in particular for those of you who are picky about this sort of thing, NC General Statute 84-1 gives Judge Gessner that specific inherent authority to make that determination. So he's done that, he's signed the order, and so your oath will take. This will be official after today. Assuming all of your motions for admission are granted, you will be licensed through this formality. So welcome again, and I'm going to turn the matter over to the host of this event, Tom Davis, the president of the Wake County Bar Association and the 10th Judicial District Bar. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Judge Ridgeway. On behalf of the 10th Judicial District Bar and the Wake County Bar Association, I welcome each of you as our new admittees, their families, and guests to this very special ceremony. Today, each of you is going to be initiated into what I think is the greatest fraternity or sorority in the state of North Carolina. It's the profession of law. Like any initiates, you've been through the pledge process. It's called law school. And all of you have successfully navigated the hazing process, which is called the bar exam. And now is the time when you become full members of our profession, and we thank you and we welcome you. Once you take your oath today, or your affirmation, you will be forever known as attorneys. The profession of law is a lifestyle, not a job. And from now on, whatever you do, wherever you go, you do so as an attorney. Whatever you do that is good, or whatever you do that is bad, will reflect not only upon you, but all members of our profession. You yourselves are the reflection of lawyers from the past, and hopefully you will serve to inspire the lawyers of the future. It may sound intimidating, it's not. Wake County is full of wonderful and experienced attorneys who will willingly provide you with advice and support as you go forward as new attorneys. This advice and support is available in many forms. It's offered in private law firms, it's offered in governmental offices, but more importantly, from my perspective, it's available through the Wake County Bar Association. In fact, the Wake County Bar has a pilot mentorship program underway with Campbell Law School, which provides a formal membership process for newly minted attorneys. But even more importantly, the Wake County Bar Association provides continuous and informal mentorship opportunities. I invite each of you to participate in the activities of the Wake County Bar Association. You'll have the opportunity to meet with, enjoy lunches with, and converse with the experienced attorneys in our county. join a bar-sponsored athletic league, or join a committee or two, and broaden your friendships with the bar while giving something back to the profession. Enjoy the opportunity to expand your legal education through our free CLE programs. The law is a wonderful profession, a profession that safeguards the rights of our citizens and governs the conduct of both business and the government. And I welcome each and every one of you to it. And now we'll bring to introduce to you Zeke Bridges, who has some comments to make on behalf of the Campbell Law School Mentorship Program.
Thank you, President Davis. My name is Zeke Bridges, and I'm the Director of Mentorship at Campbell Law School in downtown Raleigh. To the almost newly minted attorneys in the crowd, I welcome you to this noble profession, and know that professionalism will encompass all that you do while you serve your clients. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I speak before you today regarding a new mentorship program at the law school, starting in connection with the Wake County and 10th Judicial District Bar Professionalism Committee. Campbell Law and the local bar began discussing this program more than 3 years ago. Attorney Ed Gaskins, who along with myself is co-chair of the subcommittee on mentoring, has been instrumental in the discussions on mentoring within the bar and the direction of this program. In short, the Campbell Law Connections Mentor Program will pair attorneys and judges with our 3L students and pair established attorneys within the local bar with our newly minted attorneys. We anticipate the time commitment by mentees, whether you're a student mentee or a newly minted attorney mentee, to be about 15 hours over the spring semester. We will launch a pilot program, as President Davis was talking about, next January with 40 3L students and 10 newly minted attorneys participating as mentees. While we are well on our way of reaching our goal of having over 100 mentors already signed up for this pilot program, room is still available. And that is an unsolicited plug here for the sponsors in the room to rush out after this event and sign up as mentors if you have not already. It is our hope that this mentor program will provide a structured platform for mentors to mold, shape, and influence the next generation of attorneys, both personally and professionally, in a positive way. By mentoring, you will be leaving a legacy of your own in the lives of your mentees. The law school will offer a free 1-hour mentee orientation in January of next year. There we will discuss the requirements and goals of the program. For the sponsors in the room, the law school will offer a free CLE on mentor training on November 15th of this year from 9 a.m. to noon at the law school. We anticipate this session to be approved for 3 CLE credit hours by the bar. And it will include 1 hour of mental health and 1 hour of ethics, leaving 1 hour of general credit for the CLE as well. Lunch will follow the training, and we are fortunate that Lawyers Mutual has agreed to sponsor this for us. As the Campbell Law Connections Mentor Program continues to develop over the fall, additional information will be available on our website at law.campbell.edu. If you're interested in participating as a mentee, please stop by our table out front after this event. Also, if you're a sponsor here today and interested in participating as a mentor, please also stop by our table as we'll have sign-up sheets for you as well. Our noble profession would not be the same without good mentors, nor without good mentees who are willing to listen. Please consider signing up today. Thank you.
The concept of mentorship really depends upon the quality of the mentors. And I can't think of anyone who would serve as a better mentor than our next speaker, Judge James Gale, a man of many accomplishments, but also an individual not focused simply on one profession or one thing, but a man of many interests, whom I have known both professionally and through youth work through churches, and have had the opportunity to travel around Dublin, Ireland with, listening to music at various venues. A true polymath, a friend, and someone whom I hope you will enjoy as much as I do. Judge Gale.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. Before I start, I need to tell you that I got ground rules before we came out. I'm not here in a robe today, so I'm certainly a junior member of the judiciary. These gentlemen said that they would tell all the jokes, and I could not. So I don't know what jokes they'll tell you, but I'm not going to steal them from them. But members of the judiciary, Judges Ridgeway and Gessner, Mr. Davis, members of the bar, Mr. Attorney General, distinguished guests, excited family members, and most of all, those of you who are on the right side of the North Carolina Bar exam. Welcome. It's a great day. I've been asked today to share with you a few words on the topic of professionalism. And you might ask initially why that would be a topic for today and every other swearing-in ceremony for the Wake County Bar and the 10th Judicial District. Because you've already passed the examination, you know the mandatory rules and guidelines that you have to live by. And the reason that it's on the topic is because professionalism is very much more than the mandatory rules and regulations that we have to live by. It is a standard of decency, civility, trustworthiness, and other attributes that become the core of who you are and how you practice law and how you deal with each other and with the public. And we spend so much time talking about it because when any single one of you fails to live up to those high ideals, every single one of the rest of us suffer because of it. We suffer because it affects our public image. It suffers because someone did not receive justice. It hurts us because it hurts you. And so it is an important topic, and I'm humbled to ask to speak to you about it. I won't be able to say anything new, I suspect. I probably won't come close to saying it as well as people who have said it before me. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some introductory material, and then I'm going to close by giving you 5 suggestions that perhaps if you follow them and adopt them in whole or part, they'll create habits so that professionalism will become a part of who you are and take care of itself. How do you go about defining professionalism? In some respects, we could use simple words like civility, be nice to one another, like integrity, adhere to the truth, civility, be nice to each other. And those certainly are words to be captured. But as I indicated, professionalism is more than words. It becomes a way of life. As Mr. Davis said, you are entering into a way of life where you'll always be known as attorney and carry with you both the badge and the obligation of professionalism. So I can't capture it as well as others. I'm going to refer you to, commend you, to read and read often the Code of Professionalism that was adopted by the 10th Circuit Judicial Bar and Wake County Bar Association. There are many codes of professionalism around the country. I happen to think that Wake County, the 10th District, is the best. It's long, and I'm only simply going to read the preamble to you, but listen closely. The American legal system embodies our nation's shared values of individual freedom and dignity and the right to due process and equal protection under the law. As lawyers, we are the guardians of our legal system, and we have an important professional responsibility to recognize, honor, and enhance the rule of law. We are in a privileged position, and therefore we work under special obligations. To forget or to set aside those obligations is to dishonor our profession. It goes on with several things that you should listen to, and again, I commend it to you. Before I get to the suggestions I mentioned to you, I want you to remember that each of you, just like each of us who entered the profession of law before you, enter standing on the shoulders of giants. These are people who had every opportunity because of power, prestige, or position to abandon these core creeds of professionalism for economic gain or for the use of power, and chose not to because the dignity of the profession demanded that they not. I'm going to suggest just a couple of them to you to make a point. First, for the parents and grandparents here, and those who've practiced law for a while, I'll call up the memory of Senator Sam Erwin. You'll remember him from the Watergate hearings, and for those of you young lawyers who've never seen part of the Watergate hearings, I commend that you go back and look at some of them. There are people from North Carolina that distinguished themselves there. Senator Sam Erwin sat at the seat of immense power when he took on the power of the presidency and the foundations of the constitutional government of the United States. And ultimately he succeeded. But he didn't use that position of power to grandstand, to threaten, to yell, to scream. He did it with dogged determination, extraordinary preparation, and unsurpassed civility and courtesy. Next person I'll bring up for you to remember is someone the profession just most recently lost, Julius Chambers. Julius Chambers was a giant of the civil rights movement. He ended his career as chancellor at North Carolina Central University. He fought against heavy odds. He fought hard, and he won. He won many victories that many of us enjoy today. But for all accounts, Julius Chambers never raised his voice in anger. He never was unkind to his fellow man or fellow lawyer, even when his life was threatened and his office was burned. Wake County has its own giants of the profession. There are many. This bar recognizes people each year named after Joseph Branch, a justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, who was an unquestioned giant of professionalism. I'll lift up the name of Wade Smith as one of them. When Chief Judge Stevens was dedicating the new Justice Center in Wake County, he referred to Wade Smith and he said that you will never ever meet a tougher advocate, but you will never meet a nicer person. And when Wade Smith himself followed, he called upon each of us each time we visit the Wake County Justice Center to listen for the voices and memories of those giants that have gone before us that call us to practice law the way it should be practiced, not as television would suggest that you practice it. The point I'm making by bringing these names up is to make this point. You do not, in answering the call to be a true professional, have to become weak, meek, and mild. You can be that zealous, dedicated advocate without abandoning the core principles of professionalism. And I'll suggest to you that in order to succeed in the courtroom, in the boardroom, or any other room, you will learn that you must look for that same beacon of professionalism and follow it. And if you choose not to, you will suffer more than anyone else. And again, before I turn to the last suggested guidelines I'll give you, I want to highlight, I think, some challenges that are immediately apparent for you as a new generation that are different, perhaps, than we faced before. The first set of challenges comes from the new information age that we live in. One of those challenges of the information age is that it is now very difficult to get away. Time and time again, you'll hear about people whose vacation is always tethered to their email. But I would suggest to you that professionalism and professional burnout are strange bedfellows. I would suggest to you that you need to find a balance of life and that you need to learn for technology to be your friend instead of your captor. It is a skill that you would need to learn. In that same regard, a challenge then is the power of electronic communication. It gives you the ability to let loose in cyberspace a communication that, in the benefit of considered hindsight, you'd say, I sure wish I hadn't sent that. Sure wish I hadn't received it. But you can't pull it back. And somehow or another, people have learned to say electronically what they would never say face to face. And others have learned to hide behind the ability to communicate electronically so as to avoid ever talking to each other face to face. They hide behind email. They hide behind voicemail. And I would suggest to you that you individually and all the rest of us in the profession will benefit from your remembering the value of face-to-face communications. Your clients will certainly benefit from it. The other set of challenges comes from today's economics. There's no question but that there are economic forces at play which challenge and cut at the edges of the professional environment that we cannot take for granted. You as law students come out with unprecedented debt from your education. Increasingly, from top to bottom, lawyers tend to be measured externally by others by their economic output. There are statistics today that show that the economics are leading to increased bar grievances, tipping into client funds, other matters. It is a dangerous environment, and that there's a lot more competition, perhaps, for the legal dollar than there used to be. Economics and professionalism do not have to be enemies, but they will always be competitors. Your job as adhering to professionalism is to keep them always in proper balance and not to sacrifice the goods of the profession for the gains of economics. Well, let me stop preaching here for a minute then and go ahead and give you some of the suggestions of what I think are practical guidelines that might help you live in the profession. They're not really new. They're not really radical. They sound simple. Maybe they are. But I want you to keep them firmly in mind. The first one is, and we didn't share notes before today, but I'm repeating what's been said before me. Find a mentor. Don't try to do it all by yourself. If you ask any successful attorney, he or she will be able to tell you someone that has served as a mentor for them and how they have learned from a fellow lawyer. The more difficult job will be to narrow the answer down to one attorney. Yet, when you come out of law school, a competitive environment, when you stand on the forefront of really wanting to go after them now that as a new lawyer, we somehow or another pick up the notion that is somehow a sign of weakness to believe that we can't do it all by ourselves. That is a very dangerous assumption. It's also an assumption that you don't need to make. As Tom pointed out, the profession, particularly here in Wake County, is full of people who are flattered when they are asked to give help. They enjoy, more than you'll ever know, reminding you and reminding themselves that law is a profession, not just a business. Let me share this story with you. Just recently, I was on a team of 3 people who was asked over a period of 2 days to choose from a list of top-notch candidates who might best be served to take a position of heavy responsibility. And at the end of the 2 days, the 3 of us who were doing the interviews asked what was the best answer among them all. And the answer we chose was the person who responded that the greatest lesson learned from prior experience, and some of these people had some marvelous experiences, the greatest lesson learned from prior experiences was the lesson of how much there was yet to be learned and how much you depend on others to be able to learn it. That answer, some would think to be a sign of weakness, to say, I have to learn. We chose to take it as an answer that showed extraordinary strength of character. So again, the good news is there are many willing to help. What I want you to do is to make it a habit of taking advantage of it. Find a mentor and talk to your mentor. Point number 2. I ask you to think about keeping a little white book. And that's a play on words. When I came into the practice, I heard about people who kept a little black book. And the little black book would be the names of people who'd taken cheap shots, who wouldn't give an extension when you needed it, who took advantage of citing a case for something it didn't stand for, people who need to be paid back for being less than honorable. My suggestion to you is that it's much better to be motivated by the good things, and all of us want you to learn not to take the professionalism for granted. So I want you to get in the habit, if you will, of each day, sometime during the day, stop and think about something that good was done that makes the profession a good place to be. Whether it's somebody that gave you an extension so that you could go to your kid's soccer game, whether it's somebody that admitted a mistake. There'll be little things, there'll be big things, but I want you to be motivated by the good things rather than burn up by the bad things. So point number 3. So I want you to build a strong stool. My accent sometimes thick, some stool like something you sit on. And then I want you to keep the legs in balance. And I want you to, in your mind's eye, think of a simple stool that you sit on. Yours may have 3 legs. Mine turned out to have 4. And I want you to think about sitting on it and how it works. Now I want you to think about that stool and make one of the legs a whole lot longer or shorter than the others. And try to sit on it now. It doesn't work so well. I ended up picking up this imagery when I had the good fortune of taking my own advice. I was not feeling so good about the practice of law. I had every indicia externally of success. I was a partner at a very successful firm. I had a good income. I had opened doors to do a lot of other things, but I just simply was not happy, and some circumstances happened to exacerbate that. So I called upon part of the program of the Wake County Bar in the 10th Judicial Circuit. I called for bar cares, and they put me in touch with some people that were just good listeners and good talkers. And during that process, I came out on the other side of it saying, yes, I did want to practice law, and I recaptured my happiness. And the image they gave me is the one I'm sharing with you, is to think about a stool. And my stool turned out to be, the 4 legs were profession, faith, family, and health. And if I can keep those 4 in balance, I've got a pretty strong foundation. There are times when life will make one of the 4 get out of balance, and you bring them back. But I'm going to suggest to you that taking care of yourself and keeping your life in balance is a core principle of professionalism, because you've got to believe in yourself to believe in others. So think about what your stool is, what your legs are, and work hard on keeping them in balance. The 4th point, a little bit harder, and that is, don't be afraid to do the right thing. It'd be nice to tell you that you're going to go through practice never having to make tough choices. That's not going to happen. I don't know whether it's going to be the client that asks you to do something you just think's not right. I don't know whether it's going to be you cited the case only to find out it's been overruled. I don't know whether it's going to be to the point of where you don't know how to make that much overhead payment, and the temptation's great to borrow from your client's funds. There's going to be something happens that's going to call upon you to do the right thing, but it's going to be tough to do it. So just know that and be ready for it. Let me share with you a personal story which will show to you, I think, that there is a safe harbor of doing that. When I was with a law firm, we had a partner who unfortunately had lost his way and ultimately tried to cover up until such a point in time he had to take money from the law firm that was not his. And that gets caught very quickly. But there was a web of activity that had happened before then, and so as a law firm, we were confronted with the fact that we had a whole bunch of clients that we didn't know who they were. And we had made promises that we probably had broken, but we didn't even know what the promises were. And so what we ended up having to do was to reconstruct cell phone records, people's memories, and we called people in and said, we've never met you before. We're satisfied that we've made a promise to you. We've accepted some money from you more likely than not in exchange for a promise to do something for you. And we have no choice but to just ask you, what did we promise you and what do we need to do? If you think about it, there's a tremendous advantage for someone to simply take a free ride out of that. But to a single person, to the clients, to the state bar, to fellow lawyers, to judges, the response was, if you're going to step up to the plate and do the right thing, so are we. And not a single person tried to take advantage of the situation. And they all worked together, how do we take care of the profession? And they did things to make things right. So part of that lesson is I want you to learn that there's tremendous strength and opportunity in admitting a mistake. And I want you to listen to Tom and I want you to listen to Campbell when they told you that if you make a mistake, there are people there who will give you a shoulder to lean on to make it right. So don't be afraid to do the right thing. And the fifth and final habit I hope you will follow sounds very simple and very hard to do sometimes, and that is to practice the golden rule. Now, the golden rule has been said so very often that we forget to think about it out loud. So let's say it together. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, more often than not, people invoke the golden rule to ask for something for themselves. What I'm asking for you to do today is to think about what that rule asks of you. As you enter the profession, if you're going to seek truth, it means that you say truth. If you want others to play fair, it means you play fair. It means if you want your phone calls to be returned, you return your phone calls. If you want to be treated professionally, you act professionally. If you want to be listened to, you learn to listen. And so I'm going to close after giving you those 5 topics, which I hope if you live by them, they will serve you well when the hard times come. But my good friend Judge Jolly had a disc jockey in Charlotte that he remembers who closed his program each day by saying, it's very nice to be important, but it's even more important to be nice. And so I want you to go read the Creed of Professionalism. I want you to live by it. I want you to go back and look at it often as you mature. You'll find that the Creed will mature with you. And for all of us then and the members of the judiciary, and I'm going to turn it back to Judge Ridgeway, we wish you Godspeed. God bless. Thank you for the chance to talk with you.
So is this like Deloitte & Touche, and this is the envelope with the Oscar winners? I'm Paul Gessner. I'm the other half of the judicial team that is here today, along with Judge Ridgeway. I'm pleased to be here to be part of this wonderful ceremony. I want to explain to you the manner in which we're going to proceed with the administration of the oaths this afternoon. The first step will be we have taken the list of all the newly licensed or soon-to-be admitted lawyers and split it in half. I'm going to start with the first half, and when I'm done, Judge Ridgeway will have the opportunity to come up and he will do the second half. I'll recognize the sponsor, and the sponsor will then make the introduction. I believe that there will be somebody coming around with a microphone to assist the sponsors in the motion, and also ask the new admittee to please stand when the sponsor is introducing them to the court and making their motion for admission. We'll start today. I understand that Gale Arneke has a motion for the court.
I do, Your Honor. Thank you. I wish to present to this court Jesse Earl Bright, who completed his undergraduate studies at UNC Wilmington and is a graduate of the Charlotte Law School. I'm satisfied that Mr. Bright meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Jesse Earl Bright to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Jim Baker has 2 motions for the court today.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and may it please this court. My name is Jim Baker, and I'm an attorney with Hedrick Gardner here in Raleigh. And I do have 2 admittees here for you today. If they would please stand and be recognized. There we are. First in the back is Angel Dixon, who completed her undergraduate studies at Syracuse University and is a graduate of the Howard School of Law. She comes to us as a lateral admittee from New York, where she's been practicing as a litigator since 1997, and also practices and focuses in environmental law as well. And I'm pleased to introduce her to this court. I'm also pleased to introduce James Floyd, who has completed his undergraduate studies at Duke University, just down the road, and is a graduate of Washburn University School of Law. He is a newly admitted attorney, or will soon be, and he is going to be in Wake County. And it is my professional opinion that I am satisfied that both meet the requirements for admission to the practice of law in the state of North Carolina, and respectfully move this court to admit them both.
Your joint motion is allowed. Congratulations. Andrew Bennington has a motion for the court.
May it please the court. My name is Andrew Bennington, and I'm an attorney with Parker, Poe, Adams, and Bernstein. And I wish to present to this court Collier Marsh, who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Virginia and is a graduate of the University of Kentucky Law School. I'm satisfied that he meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move to this court to admit Collier Marsh to practice law before courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion is allowed. Congratulations. Venus Boston has a motion for the court.
May it please the court. My name is Venus Boston, and I'm an attorney with Washington County Schools in the 2nd Judicial District. I wish to present to this court Michelle Morrow, who completed her undergraduate studies at Johnson C. Smith University and is a graduate of North Carolina Central University School of Law. I am satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Michelle Morrow to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion is allowed. Kevin Saglowski has 3 motions for the court today.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Kevin Saglowski, and I'm an attorney with Pointer Sproul here in Raleigh. I have 3 admittees to present today. First, Brett DeWitt, who completed undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and is a graduate of Elon Law School. Second, David Smith, who completed undergraduate studies at Appalachian State University and is a graduate of Elon Law School. And finally, Kelly Smith, who completed undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and is also a graduate of Elon Law School. I'm satisfied that all 3 meet the requirements to practice law in the courts of this state, and respectfully move that the court admit all 3 to practice law.
Thank you, and your motions are all allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Jeffrey Chambers has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. My name is Jeff Chambers, and I'm an attorney in Wake County. I wish to present to this court Trent Womble, who's completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and is a graduate at Campbell Law School. I'm satisfied that Mr. Womble meets the requirements for admission to the practice of law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Trent Womble to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. The Honorable Roy Cooper, Attorney General of the state of North Carolina, has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor, and may it please the court. My name is Roy Cooper. I'm an attorney with the North Carolina Attorney General's office, and I wish to present to the court today William C. McKinney, who completed undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and then went a bit off course and is a graduate of the University of South Carolina, cum laude. In between those two ventures, he worked with the United States State Department and with my office and traveled extensively throughout the state with me. He's one of the smartest young men I know, and hopefully with this license to practice law in North Carolina, I can lure him back. I'm satisfied that he meets the requirements for admission to practice law for the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move this court to admit William McKinney to the practice of law before the courts in this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Brooke Dalrymple has a motion for the court.
May it please the court, my name is Brooke Dalrymple, and I am an attorney with the law firm of Howard, Stallings, Fromm, and Hudson. I wish to present to this court Megan Rebecca Spears, who completed undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and is a graduate of University of North Carolina Law School. I am satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Megan Rebecca Spears to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Jillian DeCamp has 3 motions for the court this afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Meredith Jillian DeCamp, and I'm an attorney with Pointer Sproul, and I have 4 individuals to present to the court, if that is all right.
That's absolutely fine with me. Your motion to amend my list is allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I wish to present Hans Dara, who completed his undergraduate studies at Montreat College and is a graduate of Charlotte School of Law. Second, I would like to present Tabitha Messick, who completed her undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and is a graduate also of UNC Law School. Third, I would like to present Imogene Sansing, who completed her undergraduate studies at Mississippi University for Women and is a graduate of the University of Mississippi Law School. And I would also like to present Kevin Schroeder, who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Law as well. I am satisfied that these individuals meet the requirement for admission to the practice of law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Imogene Sansing, Kevin Schroeder, Hans Dara, and Tabitha Messick to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and all your motions are allowed. Congratulations. Adrian Dellinger has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. My name is Adrian Dellinger. I'm an attorney with the North Carolina Department of Justice. I wish to present to this court Stephen Corvo, who completed his undergraduate studies at Lenore Rhine College and is a graduate of the Wake Forest University School of Law. I'm satisfied that Stephen meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admits Stephen Corvo to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Joe Eason has a motion for the court.
Thank you. Your Honor, my name is Joe Eason, and I am with the Raleigh office of Nelson Mullins Raleigh in Scarborough. I wish to present to the court today Margaret Ann Eason, who is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Asheville and also is a graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Law. I am satisfied that she has met the requirements for admission to practice in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Margaret Ann Eason to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Am I to go out on a limb and say there's a family relationship there? I'll remind you that he's not allowed to hit you up for attorney's fees for these motions. Jana Edelman has 4 motions for the court today.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jenna Edelman with the Sigmund Law Firm here in Raleigh. My first admittee is Juan Carlos Roja. Juan Carlos committed his undergraduate studies at UNC Greensboro and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Law. Janison Dillon completed her undergraduate studies at Appalachian State University, and she graduated from Elon University School of Law. Rebecca Williams completed her undergraduate studies at West Virginia University and her law school at University of North Carolina. Lastly, I have Whitney Nebelisa, who's from my hometown of Fayetteville. She's a double Tar Heel and will actually be practicing law up in DC. But I'm satisfied that all 4 of these admittees have met the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and respectfully move that all 4 be admitted.
Thank you. Your motions are all allowed. Brody Irwin has 3 motions for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Brody Irwin, and I'm an attorney with Young, Moore & Henderson here in town. As Your Honor pointed out, I do have 3 candidates to present today. First, I have Anna Samosi, who completed her undergraduate studies at North Carolina State University and is a graduate of Wake Forest University School of Law. Second, I'd like to present to the court Jennifer Chrisman, who completed her undergraduate studies at Appalachian State University and then went on to complete her study of law at Elon School of Law. And finally, Your Honor, I'd like to present Madeline Masters, who completed her undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and then completed law school at the University of Richmond. Your Honor, I'm satisfied that each of these 3 individuals meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and respectfully move this court to admit them to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and all your motions are allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Christy Hedrick Farwell has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Christy Farwell. I'm here from Hedrick Gardner, and it is my honor and my pleasure to present to you, to this court, Christina Diane Kress. She completed her undergraduate and graduate studies at the University of Florida before moving to the beautiful Chapel Hill to go to law school, and when there is not a conflict of interest, she makes a fine Tar Heel fan. Her parents, her grandmother, and her little brother are here today, and I want to thank them because this is a young lady who just gets it. She has old school work ethic, and she understands that this is a profession, not a job. And so because of that, I am completely satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore I respectfully move that this court admit Christina Diane Kress to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Forrest has 3 motions for the court today.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court. My name is Laura Forrest, and I'm an attorney with the Raleigh office of Hedrick Gardner. I wish to present to this court 3 fine candidates for admission. First is James Bernier, Jr., who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of the Virgin Islands and is a graduate of American University Washington College of Law School. He practiced in the Virgin Islands for a number of years and now moved his family to North Carolina. The second is Christopher Haney, who completed undergraduate studies at the College of William and Mary and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina Law School. And third, Your Honor, is Jennifer Meeks Mickle, who completed undergraduate studies at Wake Forest and is a graduate of Elon Law School. Your Honor, I am satisfied that these attorneys meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit them to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motions are all allowed. Nicolette Fulton has 4 motions for the court today.
May it please the court, my name is Nicolette Fulton and I'm an attorney with the City of Raleigh, and I have 4 individuals I would like to present to the court today. I wish to present first Ms. Ashley Nicole Collins, who completed undergraduate studies at Western Carolina University and is a graduate of Florida Coastal School of Law School. Second, Ms. Rebecca Lynn DeBookie, who completed her undergraduate studies at SUNY Brockport and is a graduate of Thomas M. Cooley School of Law. Third, Mr. Barrett Johnson, who completed his undergraduate studies at NC State University and is a graduate of Duke University Law School. And fourth, Ms. Kachinari Nina Olu, who completed her undergraduate studies at NC State University and is a graduate of North Carolina Central University School of Law. I am satisfied that these 4 individuals meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit these 4 individuals to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motions are all allowed. Philip Harris has a motion for the court.
Your Honor, may it please the court, my name is Philip Harris and I'm an attorney at Nelson Mullins, Riley, and Scarborough here in Raleigh. I wish to present to this court Bryce Louder, who completed undergraduate studies at Brigham Young University and is a graduate of the University of Virginia School of Law. It is an honor and a privilege to sponsor Mr. Louder here, as he has made the fateful decision to join our firm. We look for great things from him, not only on the firm's behalf, but as well as outstanding contributions to the legal field of itself. I am satisfied that he meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore I respectfully move that this court admit Bryce Louder to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. Philip Harris has a motion for the court. Excuse me, James Hash has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. And may it please the court, my name is James Hash with the law firm of Everett Gaskins Hancock here in Raleigh. I'm pleased to present to the court this afternoon Ms. Elizabeth Bunson, who completed both her undergraduate and law studies at Brigham Young University. I'm satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in this state, and therefore, Your Honor, I respectfully move that the court admit Elizabeth Bunson to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, and your motion is allowed. And at this time, I'm going to yield the podium to Judge Ridgeway, and he will complete the motions for admission.
Thank you, Judge Kessler. Yvonne Hopkins has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Judge Ridgeway. May it please the court, my name is Yvonne Hopkins and I'm an attorney with Hopkins Law Firm. I wish to present this court with Melissa Evatt, who's going also by Melissa Evatt per year. She's recently married, who completed undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and is a graduate of Wake Forest Law School. She will be joining me at my firm in practicing family law. Her family's here, her parents, her husband, her sister. I'm satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Melissa Evatt to practice law before the courts of the state.
Your motion on behalf of Ms. Evatt Puryear is allowed. Thank you. Justin Howard has a motion.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, I'm an attorney with the Raleigh office of McGuire Woods, and it is a pleasure for me to present to the court Rachelle Harley Thompson. She is a civil litigator and a patent attorney who's practiced in both California and in Washington, D.C. She did her undergraduate studies at Furman University, and she attended law school and graduated law school at the University of San Diego. Between the two, she was the first African-American woman to earn a PhD in chemistry from Stanford University. She will be, we're thrilled that she's joined our office here in Raleigh, and we look forward to trying cases with her and handling all matters of civil litigation. I'm fully satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in this state, and therefore respectfully ask that this court admit Rachelle Harley Thompson to practice law before the courts of our state.
Your motion on behalf of Ms. Thompson is allowed. Thank you, sir. Robbie Howell has 3 motions for the court.
May it please the court, my name is Robbie Howell, and I'm an attorney in the Raleigh office of Pointer and Sproul. I wish to present to this court Rory Egan, Bonnie Ansley, and Timothy Coley. Mr. Egan completed his undergraduate studies at Wake Forest University and is a graduate of Wake Forest University School of Law. Ms. Ansley completed her undergraduate studies at UNC Wilmington and is a graduate of the North Carolina Central University School of Law. Mr. Coley completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Minnesota and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Law. I am satisfied that each of these three individuals meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Mr. Coley, Mr. Egan, and Ms. Ansley to practice law before the courts of this state.
Your motions on behalf of Mr. Coley, Ms. Ansley, and Mr. Egan are allowed. Thank you. Jillian DeCamp has a motion for the court. Or is that the one that we heard previously? All right, that would be Hans Dara is already approved. Thank you. Todd Jones has two motions for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Todd Jones. I'm an attorney here in Wake County with the firm of Anderson Jones, and I wish to present two individuals to the court. The first is Terrell James Hooker, who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Texas and is a graduate of Wake Forest Law School. The second is Ramon McCullianetz, who completed his undergraduate studies at NC State University and is a graduate of Wake Forest School of Law. Your Honor, both of these gentlemen are working for me here in Wake County. I hope you'll see them in court soon. And I am satisfied that they both have met the requirements for admission in the practice of law and respectfully move to admit them both to the courts of the state.
Your motion on behalf of Mr. Hooker and Mr. McCullianetz is allowed. Thank you. Joseph Kahn has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Joseph Kahn, and I'm with the Raleigh office of Nexon Pruitt. It's my privilege to present to this court Letitia Cheltenham, who completed her undergraduate studies at East Carolina University and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina Law School. I'm satisfied that Ms. Cheltenham meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina and therefore respectfully move this court to admit Letitia L. Cheltenham to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Cheltenham is allowed. Brian Levecchi has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Brian Levecchi, and I'm an attorney with the state of North Carolina. I wish to present to this court Mr. Ryan Savage Boyce, who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina and is a graduate of the Charleston School of Law. And I am fully satisfied that in addition to being a gentleman of the first order, he has met all of the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and I therefore respectfully move that this court admit Mr. Ryan Savage Boyce to practice law before the courts of this state.
Your motion on behalf of Mr. Boyce is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Will Long has 4 motions for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Will Long. I work with the Bryant Law Firm here in Raleigh. I wish to present to this court Aaron James Rogers, who completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Iowa and is a graduate of the University of Iowa College of Law. Also wish to present to this court Suzanne Fitzgerald, who completed undergraduate studies at the University of Illinois and is a graduate of Loyola Chicago Law School. Also wish to present to this court Allison Cohen, who completed undergraduate studies at Emory University and is a graduate of Wake Forest University Law School. Also wish to present to this court Lauren Vineyard, who completed undergraduate studies at the University of Rhode Island and is a graduate of Roger Williams University School of Law. I am satisfied that all four meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit all four to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Cohen, Ms. Fitzgerald, Mr. Rogers, and Ms. Vineyard is allowed. Tom Lunsford, the Executive Director of the North Carolina State Bar, has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Tom Lunsford, and I am an attorney with the North Carolina State Bar. I wish to present to you this afternoon my good friend Matt Lohr. Matt completed undergraduate studies at the Appalachian State University and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina Law School. I am fully satisfied that he meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and I therefore respectfully move that this court admit Matt Lohr to practice law before the courts of this state.
Your motion on behalf of Mr. Lohr is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Maureen McDonald has 3 motions for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Maureen McDonald, and I'm an attorney here with Hedrick Gardner in Raleigh. I have 3 candidates to present to you today. First is Tony Botros, who completed undergraduate studies at the North Carolina State University and went to UNC Chapel Hill for law school. Second, Ms. Julie Grimley, who completed her undergraduate studies at Duke University and is a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill Law School as well. And third, Ms. Christine Gentile Vance, who completed her undergraduate studies at Michigan Tech University and is a graduate of Chicago-Kent Law School. Ms. Vance practiced law in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and joins us as a lateral. I am satisfied that each meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move this court to admit each to practice before the courts of North Carolina.
Thank you. Your motions on behalf of Mr. Botros, Ms. Grimley, and Ms. Vance is allowed. Thank you. Lauren Miller has 3 motions for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. My name is Lauren Miller, and I'm an attorney with Ellison Winters here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have 3 candidates that I would like to present to the court this afternoon. The first is Miss Elizabeth Foy McLean. She graduated from UNC Chapel Hill and then also went on to UNC Chapel Hill Law School. The second is Mark Masinko. Mark graduated from the University of Ohio and then went on to be a graduate at UNC School of Law. And finally, Caitlin Elizabeth Hayes. She completed her undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and then continued on at Chapel Hill as a law school grad. I am satisfied that all 3 of these individuals meet the requirements for admission to the practice of law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Elizabeth Foy McLean, Mark Masinko, Caitlin Elizabeth Hayes to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motions on behalf of Ms. McLean, Mr. Masenko, and Ms. Hayes is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Honorable Fred Morrison, one of our distinguished administrative law judges, has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Fred Morrison, and I'm an ALJ with the North Carolina Office of Administrative Hearings. I wish to present to the court Virginia Radford Niehaus, who completed undergraduate studies at Duke University and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina Law School. On a personal note, too, Virginia also is a graduate of Lynn Road Elementary School, K through 5, where my wife was principal, Carolyn Morrison. She's here today as an honorary sponsor. So thought the world of Virginia. So for all of these reasons, I'm very satisfied that Virginia meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Virginia Radford Niehaus to practice law before the courts of this state.
Judge Morrison, your motion on behalf of Ms. Niehaus is allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Stacey Wells Newton has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May it please the court, my name is Stacy Newton, and I am an attorney with the Wake County District Attorney's Office. I wish to present this court Nicole Orr, who completed undergraduate studies at Meredith College and is a graduate of Charlotte Law School. I am satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore I respectfully move that this court admit Nicole Orr to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Orr is allowed. Christopher Pishko has two motions for the court. Excuse me, David Pishko.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is David Pishko, and I practice in my own law firm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I wish to present to this court Margaret Jane Pishko, who completed her undergraduate studies at Duke University and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Law, and also Michael Pierce Sandwith, who is a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and also completed law school at UNC Law School. I am satisfied that both of these individuals meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Mr. Sandwith and my daughter Margaret to practice law before the courts of this state.
Good. You assume I was about to ask, but thank you for letting us know that. That's a great day for a father to be able to move for admission of a daughter. But so your motion on behalf of Ms. Pishko and Mr. Sandwith is allowed. David Center has three motions for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is David Center, and I'm an attorney with Young, Moore, and Henderson here in Raleigh, and I have three individuals I'd like to present. The first is Rita Beznos, who completed undergraduate studies at NC State University and is a graduate of North Carolina Central Law School. Second, Kevin Griffin, who completed undergraduate studies at the University of Tennessee and is a graduate of St. Thomas University School of Law. And third is Kristen Siam, who completed undergraduate studies at Elon University and is a graduate of Elon School of Law. I'm satisfied that all three meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit all three to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Beznos, Mr. Griffin, and Ms. Siam is allowed.
Thank you.
Donna Smith has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Donna Smith, and I'm with the State Attorney General's Office, and it's my great pleasure to introduce the court to Michelle Therrett. And Michelle completed her undergraduate studies at Xavier University and is a graduate of the University of South Carolina School of Law. And I'd also like to interject at this point that I feel that Michelle and I have come full circle here today because many, many years ago, when Michelle was a mere 8th grader, she job chatted with me in the Attorney General's office and still decided to complete a career and obtain her law degree. So I am fully satisfied that Michelle meets the requirements for the admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and I respectfully move that this court admit Michelle Therrett to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you. You mentored her well. So, thank you. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Therrett is allowed. Susan Umstead has a motion for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Susan Umstead, and I'm an attorney with the Federal Public Defender's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina, and I wish to present to this court my daughter, Rachel Umstead Jernigan, who completed her undergraduate studies at UNC Chapel Hill and also is a graduate of the UNC School of Law. I'm satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move this court to admit Rachel Jernigan to practice law before the courts of this state.
Thank you, ma'am, and congratulations to you for being another great mentor. Your motion on behalf of Rachel Jernigan is allowed. Jill Walters has 3 motions for the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Jill Walters, and I'm attorney with Pointer Spruill here in Raleigh. I wish to present 3 individuals to the court today. First, I wish to present Leon T. Kane II, who completed undergraduate studies at South Carolina State University and is a graduate of North Carolina Central University's Law School. Second, I wish to present to this court Laura Maria Esses, who completed undergraduate studies at Wake Forest University and is a graduate of Wake Forest University's Law School. And third, I wish to present Scott Matthew Lippert, who completed undergraduate studies at Miami University and is a graduate of Case Western Reserve University's Law School. I am satisfied that all 3 of these individuals meet the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore respectfully move that this court admit Leon T. Kane II, Laura Maria Esses, and Scott Matthew Lippert to practice law before the courts of this state.
Your motions on behalf of Mr. Burgess, Ms. Esses, and Mr. Lippert are allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Lisa LaFonte has a motion for the court.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, my name is Lisa LaFonte and I practice with the Bender Law Office here in Raleigh. I wish to present to this court Daniel Ray Roberts, who completed his undergraduate studies at Brigham Young University and is a graduate of the University of Chicago Law School. I am satisfied that he meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina and therefore respectfully move this court admit Daniel Ray Roberts to practice law before the courts of this state.
Your motion on behalf of Mr. Roberts is allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's appropriate to have our final motion from the Honorable James A. Wynn, Jr., a judge of our United States Court of Appeals, the Fourth Circuit. Judge Wynn.
Thank you, Judge Ridgeway. I'm, of course, reminded that going in alphabetical order doesn't work for me very well. May it please the court, my name is James Wynn. I am a judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. I present to this court Katie Ertma, who has completed her undergraduate studies at the University of Illinois and is a graduate of Duke University Law School. I am satisfied that she meets the requirements for admission to practice law in the state of North Carolina, and therefore I respectfully move that this court admit Katie Ertma to practice law before the court of this state.
Thank you, Judge Wynn. Your motion on behalf of Ms. Ertma is allowed. All right, are there further motions for the court? Hearing none, I'm going to call Judge Gessner back up. He's going to explain the procedure by which we'll administer the oath. Judge Gessner.
Thank you, Judge Ridgeway. What I'm going to do is ask first for the folks that were, the motion was made before me to stand, and in just a minute I'm going to do it twice if need be. If you would like to be affirmed, if you would remain seated. Those that would that are here that would like to swear and have the Bible with you, if you would please stand. These are the folks that I entertain the motion. If you would stand at this time while you're doing that and get ready, I'll remind everybody that the rules of the court are relaxed. If you want to feel free to move about and take photographs. But those folks that would like to have the oath administered that were moved in front of me, if you'll please stand, place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right, and I'll give the paparazzi a moment to get settled. If you'll place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. If you don't have a Bible, you can share with someone that does have one. Do you and each of you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God? If you'll answer with I do. Do you and each of you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of this state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help me God? Do each of you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will truly and honestly demean yourself in the practice of an attorney according to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God? Congratulations. Those folks that were introduced to the court and the motions made on your behalf that would like to be affirmed, by me, if you will please stand for the affirmation. If you would simply raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, and that's your solemn affirmation? Do you and each of you solemnly and sincerely affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of this state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and this is your solemn affirmation. Do each of you solemnly and sincerely affirm that you will truly and honestly demean yourself in the practice of an attorney according to the best of your knowledge and ability, and this is your solemn affirmation? Congratulations. At this time I will yield the podium to Judge Ridgeway to administer the oath to his half of the group.
All right, so those of you who had your motions entertained by me, I'll ask you to stand. Those of you who wish to be sworn, stand, find a Bible that you can place your left hand on, and I'll administer that oath exactly the way Judge Gessner did for his group. And then we'll do the affirmations in a moment. All right, so if you'll place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you and each of you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God? And do you and each of you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God? And do you and each of you swear that you will truly and honestly demean yourself in the practice of an attorney, according to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God? Congratulations to each of you. Please have a seat, and for those who wish to be affirmed, if you'll stand for me now. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, and this is your solemn affirmation? And do you and each of you solemnly and sincerely affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and this being your solemn affirmation? And do you and each of you affirm that you will truly and honestly demean yourself in the practice of an attorney, according to the best of your knowledge and ability, and this is your solemn affirmation? Congratulations to each of you. Congratulations to all of you. Welcome to the bar of the state of North Carolina. Judge Gessner.
Thank you, and thank all of you for your participation here today. Congratulations to all the new admittees. We look forward to working with you. You will find that Wake County is a wonderful place to practice law. I do have a few very, very brief remarks. At the conclusion of the remarks this afternoon, we're going to ask you to follow the directions of the swearing-in committee to the upstairs. I think it's the second level in the foyer or the lobby portion of the building, and Judge Ridgeway and I will go there, and we will sign your 2 copies of your oaths to make this all final and official. I do want to remind you and ask you to please pay close attention to the listing on the back of your program. Please thank and recognize the sponsors: North State Bank, Milberg, Gordon and Stewart PLLC, Smith Debenham, Yates, McClam and Wire PLLC, or excuse me, LLP, Everett, Gaskins and Hancock LLP, Farrington Smith LLP, Womble Carlisle, Sandridge and Rice LLP, Cranfield Sumners and Hartzog, LLP, Samuel A. Forehand, PA, and Smithmore Leatherwood, LLP. I do also want to recognize a couple of other folks that are here and present and help make this all possible. First is Merit Video Works is here photographing and videotaping today's ceremony. I want to thank and recognize Blair Williams, who is seated at the far side up here on the stage, who is one of the deputy assistant clerks in Wake County. And also recognize and thank our bailiff, Chad Biggs, who is here to keep everybody straight. We never know when that's going to be needed, but thank you to all of you for making this all official and a great day. 10 days ago, Judge Ridgeway and I had the pleasure, along with Judge Joseph, to preside over the swearing-in ceremony at Campbell. And on that morning, I was doing what I do every morning, Monday through Friday, dropping off my kindergartner and my second grader at school. And they were asking, it was a Friday, and my kindergartner said, "Dad, are you going to pick us up from school today?" I said, "No, Mom's going to pick you up because I've got court." "Why?" "Well, I'm going to go to have a ceremony and swear in new lawyers." "Why do you have to swear at them?" I said, "No, we have to swear them in." And I said, he goes, "Well, why?" And if you have a kindergartner, you know why they ask why a lot. But the second grader said, "Because they have to promise to tell the truth." And I couldn't think of another finer example of what it's important about being a lawyer and being a professional. So from the mouth of babes, that's my words of wisdom to leave you with today. Please follow the instructions of the swearing-in committee and thank them as well for this wonderful job. I neglected to recognize them as they do twice a year for the bar here. And at this time, I'm going to call upon Deputy Biggs to adjourn court sine die.
All right. This Honorable Superior Court of the County of Wake is now convened. Sine die.